Welcome to the Performance Enhancing Podcast. It's like steroids for your brain. A podcast for people looking to live life at their peak potential. Chock full of real-world tools and knowledge that you can apply in your life today. By providing you with a lens into the lives, beliefs, practices, and actions of those who are already living extraordinary lives, the Performance Enhancing Podcast will help you shift your mindset or create that change in your daily rituals and habits so you can explode with success in the areas of life that are most important to you. So get ready for another dose of Performance Enhancing Podcast with SatoriPrime. Here's your host, Ilan Ferdman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Performance Enhancing Podcast with your host, Ilan Ferdman. And today is part 2 of my interview with Jay Samit. If you didn't hear part 1, let me just give you a quick rundown of who Jay Samit is. Like I said in part 1, the most business accomplished person I've yet to interview. He's worked and helped start companies like eBay and LinkedIn. He's worked with Sony, EMI, BMG. People like Bill Gates, Richard Branson are in his Rolodex, just to kind of give you a brief overview. And his mission in life is to help entrepreneurs. He believes that entrepreneurs will solve the world's problems. And he just came out with a book called Disrupt You, which is kind of a fortune telling of the future and where we as human beings or entrepreneurs need to be thinking and what we need to be looking at. So some of the things that we're going to be covering in part 2 is what is the post-literate society? Is being dyslexic an entrepreneurial gift, which was really interesting conversation we had. Are you living life or are you just paying bills till you die, was one of his famous quotes. And the most amazing thing you can say to your employees. And I can tell you that what he's trying to drive home more than anything is that the world that we live in is moving very, very quickly. And every time something new happens, the world needs a new expert, needs a new company, needs a new leader. And that's what he's trying to create out there. Because by doing that, he believes that we can solve, if not all, then at least most of the world's problems. And it was a really enlightening conversation by a guy who's speaking from experience, not just theory. So I hope you really enjoy part 2. And if you didn't listen to part 1, absolutely go back one episode and make sure you check that out. So I'm just curious, knowing all of this, if you can share this, what are you working on now and where do you see kind of the puck going with the Internet of Things and the next kind of big thing?
So I'm CEO of Sea Change International, which is the company that invented video on demand for cable. And as I looked at the world and I saw the way we consume video is rapidly changing. So pay TV is one offering, and that's we power the biggest cable companies in 70 countries. But now networks can go over the top and deliver you programs straight to your phone and tablet. Content creators and sports leagues can go and do the same thing. Churches and religions can now reach you directly. So everybody now needs that back-end system. How do you ingest all that content, transcode it to different formats and files, and insert the ads and target to the individual? A whole new infrastructure. Netflix built a great infrastructure. They spent about $300 million doing it. Sea Change does this for companies for nothing and just takes a piece of the revenue. So we're doing this with the BBC, for example, and others. So I see we're coming, that I joke, a post-literate society. Fancy word for illiterate. Great time to write a book. Nobody wants to read. Most of it is done visually now by video and by stills. The majority, we've had photography for almost 2.5 centuries, and the majority of the world's photos were taken in the last 14 months. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
We're making a lot of video. 300 hours every minute go up on YouTube. So how are you going to find that? How are you going to discover it? How are you going to monetize it? How are you going to match the perfect thing? So filtering and discovering huge opportunities, and then coming up with a new version of monetization. So those are big plays that allow me to play on a big stage in a lot of countries, across a lot of devices, and with a lot of great partners. So for me, that's very fulfilling to disrupt. I did it to the music industry. Now I'm doing it to the video industry. I did it to the PC industry. I worked with the car industry. They all follow the same pattern, and it's just a lot of fun.
It's interesting, in reading and just seeing about your history a little bit, you've always kind of found what's not working in whatever niche you're in.
Right.
merging that with the up and coming technology that is kind of just up and around the bend, and trying to think, how am I going to put this technology to solve this problem where those two worlds are eventually going to meet? And it's, as I was looking at this, it's almost like you were fortune telling, but now as you're sharing it, I just hear that's kind of the process you were going through, right? Problem.
And it's pretty accessible, and people have done it for literally over 1,000 years. Not to give some of my favorite stories away from the book, but there's a guy in 15th century Rhineland part of Germany. All of a sudden, somebody took an olive press and realized you could press grapes and make wine cheaply. So Riesling took over Germany like crazy. Germany was like a small little country compared to today, and they were making wine by the barrelful. So everybody was making wine, and the market tanked. So then all of a sudden, all the wineries go out of business, and there's all these used presses. So a guy named Gutenberg goes, wait a second. If I take that used press I can get cheap, put some movable type, voila, I've got printing. It's the same thing. You can take the detritus, the waste from another industry, and look at it from fresh eyes and say, let me bring it here. And that's really easier than having to build everything from the ground up.
Do you think that through the years, you've just somehow trained your brain to see a certain way? I mean, I feel like I walk around the world now with marketing goggles, and you're just picking out, this is interesting marketing. I like what they did here. Do you think you've just trained your brain to see these things over time?
I've gotten better at it, and experience makes you trained at it. But I used to take credit and think, I'm smart, I think different. I was actually born and wired different. There's now MRIs that can show that and whatever. And we go into that at length of what I was told was a learning disability, being dyslexic. It turns out the vast majority of successful entrepreneurs are dyslexic because we solve problems differently. But the good news is you can teach your brain and rewire the circuitry in your brain by doing some very simple exercises. And anybody can change their physiology. And they've done twin studies, and there's some really amazing stuff on this. But the bottom line is, it's not about what you can't. Your biggest regrets in life are not going to be the things that you tried and failed. It's the things that you failed to try.
Yep.
And so I really, if I could reach through the waves into the minds of everybody listening, I would just ask them a basic question. Are you living life, or are you just paying bills till you die? And if it's the latter and you don't believe in reincarnation, to me, that's sad.
Yep.
Because you never fulfilled your potential. And the greatest thing in life is the journey of trying things and what you learn and discover. The idea that I, a kid from a row house in Philadelphia, would run global companies worth $100 billion and launch some of these things and work with the Pope and heads of state. If future Jay came to little Jay, I would have laughed on the floor for, forever. The idea that I would once, get to go on an airplane somewhere, and now, unfortunately, I'm one of those guys that is always in the air. It's just such a great thing. Now, there's pain involved. There's failure. But hopefully what I've tried to do is ease the journey for people to read the book. This is my way of giving back. And what I really love to hear, and somebody, just reached out to me this morning, and it literally makes my day more than anything. Jay, you spoke in such and such way back when, da, 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 da. I followed your advice. You didn't realize this, and it changed my life. I mean, that means that I had an impact. There was something that I contributed. And that's what we all want to do at the end of the day.
Not all, but I truly believe that as I've progressed in business and started hanging out with more and more successful people who have been successful for a long period of time, I find that to be the common thread. I find that every single person reaches a certain level of success, and then just the next thought is, because home is taken care of. Me, the people around me, that's taken care of. And then you have to, for most people, I think, open your eyes and just go, okay, well, now what? How do I impact more? What's the next impact level? Next impact. For me, when I was going through the book, what you just highlighted was what I kind of envisioned. It was like your wake-up call to society with a little kick to get them off the cliff. and give them tools to build that plane on the way down. Because I think for a lot of people, what's about to come is going to be downright scary.
If you look at countries that lost their middle class, Mexico, South Africa, the wealthy live behind gated fences with armed guards. They're in prison.
Yeah.
Right? When you look at, when it took a wheelbarrow worth of cash in the Weimar Republic of Germany after World War I to buy a loaf of bread, what a shock that people would follow any lunatic that promised them a car for every house. Okay? And 80 million people die in World War II. So it's scary what happens if we just say, it's not my problem. The world is this way.
Yeah.
The only thing that has ever made a difference was an entrepreneur. All the great discoveries, all the great changes, all the things that we enjoy do, it started with somebody just having an idea and not giving up and not quitting. You never know how close you are to success if you quit. It could just be one phone call away, one day away. One of the favorite things, I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars for startups to continue to help startups. And every famous VC will sit down and tell a story. We're going to pull the plug on this thing. It doesn't make any sense. Boom. There were two young guys that had an idea that seemed flawless. Couldn't make a mistake. Internet dating was catching on, but it was pretty much still pictures. So I said, wait a second. Tune in, hook up. We're going to put videos up. You have to hear the person, their accent. The photo isn't 10 years old or Photoshop, right? Oh, we're going to make a fortune. We don't need to test this, do anything. They put up the videos, and boom. No one wants to date any of these people. But they found the videos kind of funny and entertaining. And people were telling their friends, you got to see this video. You got to see this video. They changed the name to YouTube. And year in business, they're billionaires.
Wow. I had no idea that that's how YouTube got started. That's amazing. You just reminded me, I was watching, I think, one of your, I don't know which one of the videos, but you had mentioned something you tell your employees. There were two things you tell your employees, which I actually wrote them down. Because I'd never heard anyone say that to anyone.
Oh, I've said it for 20 years now. I have two roles. The first role is I work for them, not the other way around. I try to hire the best people and empower them to do what they're told to do, not to micromanage and think I have all the answers and you're just a clone. I surround myself with brighter people and then get to take credit for their work. It's the greatest job in the world. So rule number one, you have to tell me what you need to be successful, and then it's my job to get it for you. Do you need more people? Do you need more authority? What do you need to get your stuff done? The second role is I'm all about change and disruption. If we're doing the same thing, we're not going to grow the business. So if you work for me for a year and you don't make a mistake, I will fire you. And I've done this because it's about not being afraid to make a mistake. You have to try new things to discover what no one else has found. And if you're afraid to do that, if you're a duck and cover, I think I'm going to get that gold retirement watch if I never put my neck out there. That era doesn't exist.
It was so beautifully said and so refreshing because I think people are just naturally afraid, especially when someone hires them, right? There's all these responsibilities. But for someone who's your superior to give you that kind of creative freedom just takes all the weight off, and it allows you to really experiment and go in places that you never would have thought possible because you're no longer afraid of messing it up. In fact, you're more afraid of not messing it up.
We all answer to somebody. I mean, when my current board asked me to come in and be CEO of Sea Change International, I gave them the whole speech in reverse, which is, I know I'm going to piss you off. I know I'm going to do something that absolutely is, a fireable offense. Just give me the benefit of when that day comes. Call me first, because I may or may not have done it intentionally. I may have just been moving so fast that things happen, because you can't live with that cloud over your head. You never see the sun.
What an interesting concept to actually say that before it happens. I tend to be one of those people too. I move very, very quickly. So I probably make a few of those. I should probably use that line here and there.
I'll tell you a funny story that isn't in the book that I have to leave the company name out of. But I had to go 90 miles an hour to try to change a major company. And I knew I had to take a lot of shortcuts and annoy a lot of people and whatever. And there's an attorney in the division who kept notes of everything that Jay did wrong or violated the rules or this, that, thing, and sent a 20-page memo to the general counsel of this multinational global giant thing. And I'm called before her and the chairman of the company, and they go, keep up the good work. Better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
My friend told me that it's the first time I ever heard it. He literally told me that same line this weekend.
If you're hitting it out of the park, no one cares how hard you work. They care about the results. Bill Gates had a great expression. He would always hire the laziest person he could find because they'll find the quickest way to get it done.
The loopholes, the things that no one looks for. Let's talk a little bit about what we see for the future or what you see for the future and a couple of markets that you mentioned. One I know is 3D printing, and the other one that really intrigued me and really opened my eyes was the peer-to-peer lending, let's call it, but not in the crowdfunding type of way, but
the sharing economy.
Sharing, yes.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you own an electric drill?
I do.
You own more than one?
One that works.
Okay. According to the Electric Drill Manufacturers Association, in the entire lifetime of owning that drill, you will drill for 13 minutes. Oh, IKEA bookshelf. Does it really make sense to own something for 20 years that you will use in total for 13 minutes? No.
It's insane.
So if there was software in the neighborhood to borrow lend power tools, a lawnmower, a car spends most of its time parked. When I talk to the CMOs of some of the biggest car companies that hired me to reposition what they do, they're not selling against other cars now. They're trying to convince a new generation that you want to own a car when they can do the math and say in certain communities, you can Uber and Lyft around, have all the freedom and flexibility for less money, no insurance, no hassle, no depreciation, blah, 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 blah. So the sharing economy in all the different forms that will be, it's not just about sharing music. There's many things in the physical and digital world. And most of these haven't been launched yet.
Yeah. I mean, I just got off like that page and I'm just thinking to myself, what's something that's sitting in my house that I don't use often, that costs me a ton of money or, a good amount of money, let's say, that other people would want to use? Or what are things that I use rarely, but when I need them, I need them. And to go out and spend $200-$300 to get them is stupid. And I started making
the same thought with the extra bedroom.
Say it again?
Somebody had the same thought with the extra bedroom. I need it sometimes, but when I don't, Airbnb.
Exactly.
And a multi-billion-dollar company was built off of guys that couldn't pay their rent.
It's insane. That, and I've already seen car companies, like there's rental companies now that you leave your car at the airport. While it's at the airport, they lend it to someone else. They get it back cleaned, insured up to $1 million. The whole deal, it's like it's sitting there. You're making money. You basically cover your flight and you get free parking all while there. And it's just these little things that I think what I walked away from the book with is a lens in which to view the world, to start seeing it in a similar fashion to you, which is, where are the missing pieces? What are things that we could put in place to help people with what's already there?
Every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise.
Yeah.
Your job is just to take off the disguise.
Yeah. Now, let me take it one step further, because people have a ton of good ideas, right? Like back a napkin ideas, stuff like that. For someone that's been successful, has connections, you come up with a good idea, you have friends, I have friends we can go to and say, hey, look, I think this is a really good idea. Let's raise some capital. Let's put this to the test, see if it works. There's other people that are going to have amazing ideas, but they're sitting and they're, in a shitty job. They don't have friends with money. Is there anything that we can offer to those kind of
Absolutely. There's no difference. Again, I wasn't born with, contacts filled with billionaires around the globe. Okay. You are connected and one email away from any person on LinkedIn, any person on Twitter, any person on Facebook. You can reach out and build a network of mentors. People would like to give back. People would like to help the next generation. People are looking for good ideas. You don't just like, hey, read this business plan. It's like, hey, can I ask you a question? Or I read this article that you do. I mean, I write for the Wall Street Journal. You can follow me on Twitter at JSamit. I hope you put all this on your
I will.
website. And people come up to me all the time. A couple of years ago, one of my students came up to me with an idea. I thought it was the best pitch I'd heard in 20 years. Took 2 weeks to get them $9 million. And they did $150 million the first year, top line.
Wow.
2 kids in their 20s. So there are endless ways to connect yourself to resources that are underutilized. So just like the sharing economy, borrowing a lawnmower or a car, why not borrow as an advisor somebody that's done something in that field? Why not find a company out there that wants to reach that same audience with a different idea? Use OPM, other people's money, which I talk about in Disrupt You, that you don't always have to raise the money yourself, but there's other people that give you money that they don't want to pay back.
Yeah. And now with crowdfunding, things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and there's actually people that I know that you can hire for them to put these campaigns together, put everything together for you.
So people found the problem. People didn't know how to use Kickstarter, so they started. There's a woman who wrote a book when eBay was just getting started, how to sell stuff on eBay. I think she's done 30 books since. Her whole career has been being the eBay expert. So every time there's something new, the world needs a new expert. Why can't you? My guiding principle was be the best at what you do or the only one doing it. Because if you're the only one doing it, by definition, you're the best. So I'm always doing the next thing because I'm terrified of competition. So if I'm leaving the next thing, there's nobody else out there. I'm the best guy doing it. Maybe somebody else could have done a better job, but I decided to take a piece of turf and hold on to it until it gets to a size where somebody else buys it, runs, and takes it from it.
Jay, I think that's your ultimate loophole.
Yep.
So let's wrap it up with this question. I asked this of every one of our guests, and it's a cliche, but I wish I knew then what I know now. And given that you've spanned quite an expansive amount of business history and life history, what's something that you wish you would have known when you got started?
A couple of things. One, I wish I understood that when you go to pitch a big company or business, you've got this great thing. This will be the next product for them. That most people that you're going to meet with really don't care what's good for the business. They're not thinking about their cola product. They're not thinking what's good for that. They're thinking about how do they keep their job. So if you can solve for that individual, if you can figure out what will give them a promotion, what will make them look good, your deal will happen much easier.
Wow.
That was a huge, epiphany for me. The other one is there's very few people that you're going to interact with that have that much expertise above where you are. You can, learn so much online. You can be an expert and get knowledge and really on any subject and really get deeply into it. And when you realize how little time most people spent to be experts, you can catch up in a lot less time and then know enough to surround yourself with those things that, you're not going to learn to code overnight or something like that. So it's a lot easier than I thought it was when I started. When I started, I thought everybody had it all figured out. Where was I going to fit into this universe? And, you have to be a little, cocky to believe that you can. And then once you find out that you can, it's the greatest drug on earth. Being an entrepreneur and changing the world and knowing that millions of people use a product that you created or that you make their life easier, you make them happy. How fantastic is that?
It's the greatest thing in the world. I love what you said. Entrepreneurs will solve and have always solved the world's problems. And I truly, truly believe that. Any final thoughts for the audience? I mean, obviously, book comes out July 7th.
Yes, July 7th. You can buy it now on all your online stuff. If you buy it immediately, if you buy it ahead of time, it's on sale on Amazon, so you can save money. But if anybody either reaches out to me on Twitter or emails me at my website, jsamit.com, I made a companion workbook that goes along with the hardcover book so that you can write down your 90 ideas and do stuff. I will send that to your listeners for free.
Awesome. I'll leave. So where should they get in touch with you? Either at Twitter or
jsamit.com.
Okay, brilliant. I'll put that on the resource guide. And I highly, highly recommend it. If you're looking for a kick in the butt and kind of a crystal ball into what is coming down the pike, you know what? Maybe end it with this crazy story. The Apple, what you think Apple is coming with next?
So in addition to self-driving cars and everything else, Apple, in my prediction, is coming out with tennis shoes, because when you walk around, you actually can make electricity with your footsteps. And the result of that is your wearable devices, your Apple Watch, your phone, will no longer need to be charged. You just have to run down the block and say, wait, I'm losing my signal.
That's the kind of stuff I remember I heard. I was like, wow, that's some next level thinking. And just getting a peek into how your mind works and how you view the world was, to me, was a gift. And
very kind. Well,
really,
I'm here to serve. I'm trying to make it easier for the next generation. And if any of my words in the book help anybody, email me. I live to hear those stories and to hopefully share them with the world and share other people's success.
Brilliant. Keep doing what you're doing. I will definitely be a big, long-time follower. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with me and my listeners.
Have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Performance Enhancing Podcast. We've taken this pep talk and created a custom action guide so you know exactly what action steps to take now to grow your business. Just head over to SatoriPrime.com/podcast and download it for free. Also, please leave a comment and rate this podcast on iTunes. It'll help us get the word out. Thanks for listening. Now, go and implement. We'll see you next time.
Did you run through doors till you hit the floor? Did you read my eyes and my aching thoughts? Did you walk through walls till you had to grow? Oh my God, your smile and my soundless calls. Where the ceiling